Lord, I'm getting ready to believe. Oh my, I didn't know how hard it would be. Oh my, I didn't know how hard it would be. But if I hold on tight, is it true? Would you take care of all that I do? Oh Lord, I'm getting ready to believe. They'll be waving hands, singing freely, singing standing tall, now it's coming easy. No more looking down, honey, can't you see me? Oh Lord, I'm getting ready to believe. They'll be waving hands, singing freely, singing standing tall, now it's coming easy. No more looking down, honey, can't you see me? Oh Lord, I'm getting ready. Oh Lord, I'm getting ready. Oh Lord, I'm getting ready to believe.
Hi everybody, good morning again. Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Rochester. This is Orange Sky. We're here to sing and play with you guys. Please enjoy the first hymn we have for you today. It's a song called Meet Me in the Woods by Lord Huron.
Changed, I can feel it in my bones. A fool with the forces that our eyes can't see. Now the darkness got a hold on me. Now the darkness got a hold on me. I've been away. Oh, it feels like ages, though you say it's only days. There ain't a language for the things I've seen. Yeah, and the truth is stranger than my own worst dreams. The truth is stranger than all my dreams. Oh, the darkness got a hold on me. The darkness does. Say goodbye to who I was. I ain't never been away so long. Don't look back, them days are gone. Follow me into the endless night. I can bring your fears to life. Show me yours and I'll show you mine. Meet me in the woods tonight. Stranger than my own worst dreams. Oh, the darkness got a hold on me. I have seen what the darkness does. Say goodbye to who I was. I ain't never been away so long. Don't look back, them days are gone. Follow me into the endless night. I can bring your fears to life. Show me yours and I'll show you mine. Meet me in the woods tonight. Oh, oh, oh.
Good morning. My name is Chris Dorso. I use he, him pronouns. Here at First Unitarian Rochester, our mission is through spiritual connection and community, we listen deeply to others and ourselves, we open to wonder and transformation, and serve together with love and humility. We acknowledge with respect the Seneca Nation, keepers of the Western Door, and part of the Haudenosaunee people, on whose ancestral lands First Unitarian now stands. If you're new or newish here, please stop in at the welcome desk outside in the lobby so we can welcome you and help you connect. And if you're here today because you're going through a particularly hard time or worried about someone else, please connect with our pastoral care chaplain out in the lobby or after our service. As we settle into this sacred time and place, take a deep breath. I invite those of you who are joining us online to light a chalice wherever you are. Here in the sanctuary, Sarah Jackson will light ours. Please join me in our unison words, which are there they are. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and mysteries of this great gift.
Good morning. For those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm Sarah Jackson. I'm our administrative assistant. I also have the honor and privilege to make music here with you on Sunday mornings. And I have the honor to share with you that this September, if you don't already know, I am getting married. And the gift that I've been given as a part of joining my fiance's beautiful family is a relationship with her maternal grandmother, Marge Vanolis. Now, Marge is a very opinionated, straightforward, deep thinker. Upon my very first conversation with Marge, Madeline and I had been dating about 3 months. They live in Oregon. We were speaking over FaceTime. She did not say hello to me. She did not ask me how I was doing. She didn't ask about the weather. No pleasantries involved. She said, "What do you love most about my granddaughter?" We had been dating 3 months. We had toyed with the idea of saying, "I love you." It was very, very interesting, to say the least. So you can imagine I was not particularly fazed when I met her for the first time in person the following summer. We had then been dating a year. We had said, "I love you." And she had asked me very deep, personal questions about my life, and had shared some own musings about her life. And I'm really unsure of how it came up, and it's truly possible that nothing prompted it at all. But she looked at us as we were sitting in her living room, and she said, "I want to share something with you. And that I want to let you know that your marriage had not been discussed, or was really on the table. Or I guess your relationship contract," she backtracked, "is always negotiable. It is always something that you can sit down, reevaluate, and speak on if you feel like something is not right." Now, I don't know if she knew or she had some otherworldly sense that was letting her know that this year into our relationship, we were going through our very first kind of rough patch. And when a relationship is new, a rough patch, something that is hard, can be something that you get really lost in. It is all-encompassing. You don't know what to do. You're very uncomfortable. And you're realizing now that your relationships are not all the big, beautiful, warm, and fuzzy feelings you feel 6 weeks in. And it was in that moment that I realized what she was trying to teach me and her granddaughter is that reevaluating our relationship was really about navigating, understanding, and communicating how our boundaries had changed. That the things that we needed in that time may be different than what we needed when we first fell in love. And isn't that why we come to church? Because in a space where we are constantly building relationships, building those connections, part of that is having to go through the kind of muddied, awkward situation of looking at our boundaries, saying what they are, and then sharing them with our wider community. And when we do that, then we are teaching those around us how to love us completely and wholly. Buttons. Okay, this morning, as you greet each other, as I started at the top, I'm getting married, and as you can imagine, that means I've had to say no to a lot of people in the last year and a half, and we'll continue to have to do so as we get closer to September. So as you greet your neighbors or as you greet those in the chat, say hello, say good morning, and then tell somebody a little time where you've had to set a boundary. Be firm and say no.
We ask you now to settle into your seat. Feel the earth hold your weight, pushing back gently to lift you up. The ground is steady. Your breath in and out, steady or not. Observe it. Let it be. Keep breathing. Please join me at this time in a shared silence. Please join me now in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, God of many names and one abundant love, the light shining through the ice sparkles. And for this beauty we say thanks. May we stop to notice, to stare, to be held in this moment, even if only for a moment, of something fragile and gorgeous and temporary. Ice can be tricky. Beautiful sometimes, invisible other times, dangerous, deadly even. In this weekend of weather and what will happen, love, help us thaw the ice that forms on our hearts, that freezes us in place, that keeps us stuck, feeling okay, looking better, but not growing. Help us to find the life and warmth underneath. Hold us in the company of those who need us not to look picture perfect, but know and love us too when we are messier and melting. May it be so. We now enter into ritual to bring what is on our hearts and lay it on the altar of community and spirit. Honoring the complexities of life, bring to mind whatever grief, growth, or gratitude is alive within you. Online, you're invited to share in the chat, and here in the sanctuary, you're invited forward to light a candle at one of the tables in the aisles. If you would like an usher to bring a candle to you, please raise your hand. May we now share in this ritual of community care and witness to one another's hearts.
You can't steal the things that God has given me. No more pain and no more shame and misery. You can't take me down. You can't break me down. You can't take me down. You can't take me down. You can't break me down. You can't take me down. Love and hate, so much more than we're supposed to tolerate. Can't you see there's more to me than my mistakes? Sometimes I get this feeling, makes me hesitate. Oh, I believe she won't take me somewhere I'm not supposed to be. You can't steal the things that God has given me. No more pain and no more shame and misery. You can't take me down. You can't break me down. You can't take me down. You can't break me down. You can't take me down. You can't break me down. trouble. I'm in a house of
I would
walls.
stay away. I would stay away.
For the love of everybody. Look behind the wall. Standing now, calling all the people here to see the show. Calling for my demons now to let me go. I need something, give me something wonderful. You can't take me down. You can't break me down. You can't take me down.
Everything that First Unitarian does for ourselves and others is made possible by what we bring to it. Each week, we practice shared generosity to support the work and witness of Unitarian Universalism here in Rochester, and half of our Sunday offering goes to a partner organization working to create a more just and loving world. Today, we share our plate with the Black Physicians Network of Greater Rochester. BPN Rochester's mission is to reduce health disparities and to improve the health of our community by increasing the number of Black physicians. They help current medical students understand that the barriers they face can be overcome, and the group supports them through mentoring, scholarship, and support. They also provide inspiration to students from elementary through high school who dream of pursuing careers in medicine. In the spirit of abundance and generosity, the offering will now be greatly received here in the sanctuary, as well as online. You can donate through Venmo at Rochester Unitarian.
I kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights just thinking how you've done me wrong. I grew strong. I learned how to get along, and so you're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here without that look upon your face. I should have changed my freaking lock. I would have made you leave your key. If I'd have known for just 1 second you'd be back to bother me. Oh, now go walk out the door. Just turn around now, 'cause you're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one who tried to break me with desire? Did you think I'd crumble? Did you think I'd lay down and die? Oh, not I. I will survive. Yeah, as long as I know how to love, I know I'll be alive. I've got all my life to live. I've got all my love to give. I will survive. I will survive. Yeah, yeah. Took all the strength I had just not to fall apart. I'm trying hard to mend the pieces of my broken heart. And I spent oh so many nights just feeling sorry for myself. I used to cry, but now I hold my head up high, and you'll see me with somebody new. I'm not that stupid little person still in love with you. And so you thought you'd just drop by and you expect me to be free, but now I'm saving all my loving for someone who's loving me. Oh, now go walk out the door, just turn around now, you're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one who tried to break me with desire? Did you think I'd crumble? Did you think I'd fade out in time? Oh, not I will survive. Yeah, as long as I know how to love, I know I'll be alive. I've got all my life to live. I've got all my love to give. I will survive. I will survive. Yeah, yeah.
That's the song I'm singing as I lie feverish over the last week. And I'm so glad to be with all of you. Just to be clear, because I know some of you are thinking of it, I am testing negative for COVID now. Delightful. I appreciate the affirmation, though I wasn't looking for it. Just wanted to be clear about what we're working with here. But I'm just gonna keep my mask on for today, and our dear Pablo, who, if we can't have Pablo, my God. So delighted to have you all, thank you. But our dear Pablo, our music director, still testing positive, so he's not allowed back at work yet. But we hope we'll see him next week. And he says hello, and I love you to all of you, and I'm so excited to be here with all of you. So I am so excited to be here with all of you, but it wasn't a given, and not because I had COVID this past week, but because, some years back, my then girlfriend invited me to go to church with her, which I thought was a weird thing to do on a date, but I said yes, because I'm a curious person, and I liked it. I was curious. Elizabeth had been raised Unitarian Universalist, and because we had had this long-distance courtship of sorts, in which I was in another country and we wrote letters back and forth to each other for 2 years, I had learned a lot about Unitarian Universalism, our theology, what we were all about, our history, but I hadn't had the experience of being in community together. And so we started going to church, and it had been about a year when she turned and asked me, so would you say that you're a Unitarian Universalist? And I said no. I said no because, I hadn't joined formally as a member, and though in some ways that doesn't matter at all, it was clear to me that in that religious community, and quite frankly in this religious community, there is something about formally making a commitment, saying yes to this group of people, saying yes, I want to journey alongside you. Yes, I liked the music. Yes, I liked the preaching. Yes, I thought the coffee could be a little better, but I liked it anyway. But was I ready to cast my lot in with these folks? No. And so I said, no, I wasn't a Unitarian Universalist. Fast forward a few years, and I'm applying for seminary. I am working as a chaplain in single-room occupancy housing, transitional housing, as people move from being in prison to being in the free world, I suppose. And at some point, she reads a bio of me in which I identify as a Unitarian Universalist. And she says, what? But I thought you weren't. And I said, yeah, that was true after a year of going to church. But we're a little bit beyond that point now. We've formally joined. I'm applying for seminary. What? And she said, you hadn't updated me. How could I have known? So in some ways, Elizabeth is, if we believed in the kind of theology where you get points, gold stars for conversion, totally knocking it out of the park, if I say so myself. In other ways, a little bit of a relationship fail for the two of us. Having clearly articulated my no, I failed to update her with my yes. Now, there are some of you, and quite frankly, a little bit of defensiveness within me, that wants to point out that she and I signed the book together. We were right next to each other. The Halliday-Quans are members together in our home congregation. But still, there was a way in which I failed to communicate what was most important to me, something that we were doing together and yet somehow still alone. In this season of boundaries that we end now, it's incumbent on me to talk about boundaries and consent because these are words that float through our minds and our culture and, quite frankly, our hearts for lots of people, bringing forward showers of joy and pleasure, and for lots of us, a lot of confusion and doubt. Consent matters, we know that, but what exactly do we mean by that? And how does communication play into this? As Unitarian Universalists, one of the gifts of our faith that we are most proud to offer the world, to offer our children and each other, is Our Whole Lives, our comprehensive sexuality education program. And it is something that starts in kindergarten, talking about bodies and how we have ownership and agency over our own, and extends into elder adulthood. When your body is no longer the same as it once was, what does this mean for your relationship structure? When your relationship structure of decades has changed, what does this mean for you? This lifespan sexuality education program is something we are all really proud of, and yet, for most adults, and I certainly speak for myself, it's something that I often think of in the abstract, something I'm proud of that we offer over there to those children, as opposed to something that informs my own life. Because quite frankly, it makes me nervous. I get anxious about it. I am an adult. I'm a minister. Don't I already know everything there is to know? Shouldn't I already know everything there is to know? Shouldn't my wife know whether or not I'm a Unitarian Universalist? Okay, and now what? COVID brain a little bit. Let me just check my notes for a moment. Many of you are often so impressed when I seem to remember my sermons. I too am impressed by that when it happens. And yet it's exactly the right moment to check the notes. Exactly the right moment, because in that sense of nervousness and anxiety and fear that I have around sexuality education for myself is the truth that there's no one set of information, no one course, no 5 weeks we can send our children to every year that will perfect them and proof them for the world. There's no set of information, no one conversation, no memorization of a cheat sheet that can make us capable of navigating all there is to know, to do, and to experience. One of the major skills we teach in OWL is communication. One of the major ways we equip our children and ourselves with living in the world in relationship with others is the ability to tell other people what we want and what we don't want. Below and beyond that, though, well, It's a skill of developing discernment, the ability to know, to understand, and to experience what we want, and to not experience what we don't want. We often hope that our children, having gone through OWL, are suddenly equipped with a punch card, a quiz, if you will, of all the things they like and don't like, so that they might go out into the world and perfectly fulfill them. Many of us may also have equipped our own selves when it comes to our sexuality and our relationships with a similar card. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. You should know that because I had that conversation with you when we got married 45 years ago. Sometimes, and always, whether we want it to or not, things change. When we talk about consent, often the anxiety and nervousness that many of us hold who grew up in a culture that looks really, really different than that of our children now is the looming no. The what if I don't know if someone else is saying no? What if others don't respect the no that I offer? And this is an important anxiety, one that deserves to be paid attention to. But one of the best skills we can equip ourselves with, one of the best spiritual practices we can invite ourselves into, is the practice of learning to say yes, of knowing what it is that we do like, of knowing what it is that we might enjoy or want to experience or want to experiment with, and yet not commit to for forever. When we talk about consent, you'll sometimes hear the words ongoing and enthusiastic. Ongoing and enthusiastic consent suggests that consent is not a one-and-done process, not a time where we get to say yes or no exactly one time and agree to everything else that is going to happen. There's no sexual experience or marriage or church where that is true. Ongoing and enthusiastic invites us to continually be asking and waiting for an answer from our partners. Continually be asking and waiting for an answer from ourselves. And to be clear, that answer, in order to proceed forward, does need to be affirmative. It does need to be a yes. But no, though it does mean no, does not end a conversation. Often when we talk about boundaries and setting them with other people, we do so because a lot of us need practice in setting boundaries with other people. We do so because lots of us need to better understand our own desires and how we might communicate them to other people. But placing ourselves also in the position of someone to whom another has communicated a boundary, a holy yes or a holy no, allows us too to understand that that gives us choices. That no doesn't mean that we might proceed. It certainly means to stop. But how then to react? To get angry? To get defensive? To try to convince someone that they really want to do the thing? Or to turn away? To freeze out? To no longer be in relationship? Or to navigate otherwise? To know that one has choices at every step of the way is one of the skills, both as someone seeking and assessing boundaries. That's one of the skills that we are most called upon in this moment to practice in religious community. Now, I know whenever we start talking about sex and church, that can get confusing and weird, not only because Unitarian Universalists stand outside of that grand tradition of shame and purity culture, but also because I want to be clear that I'm not inviting you to have sex with everyone you go to church with. That's not what this is at all. When I talk about consent and communication and boundaries with the person sitting across the room from you, it is not licensed to hit on them. It's because it matters how we interact in non-sexual relationships as well. How we treat each other with respect and understanding, learning to communicate and assess boundaries is something we practice in all sorts of relationships. Here are 2 ways I have seen this play out in our community. Many of us go unmasked in lots of parts of our daily lives now. At coffee hour, lots of our connection activities are unmasked or masked optional, whereas some others are mask required. It depends on what the activity is, and it depends, quite frankly, on the assessment of the facilitator, whether or not that's something that their health and their personal choices hold. I've seen us again and again go into rooms and into gatherings and ask and wait for an answer. A simple interaction, nothing too complicated, nothing too fussy, but something practiced again and again in how we are to be together. I've seen us do this when taking photos. There's a group photo, and folks look around and say, is it okay if I post this on social media? And then they don't if somebody says no. And I've seen this personally play out in 1,000 different ways, but most notably in the fall after a training here in which our congregation lifted up how we might be more welcoming to trans and gender nonconforming folks, for gender expansive people. A congregant, Joe Simpson, asked me after the training, Reverend Shari, I notice when you introduce yourself, you use both they and she pronouns. Can I ask about that? And then he waited for an answer. It was clear that he was nervous asking about it, that he wasn't sure if he would offend me or whether or not it was appropriate to ask. And so he asked if he could ask. And maybe that feels a little cumbersome, but it was respectful and it deepened our relationship. When I said, Joe, we know each other and I'm happy for you to ask, he was visibly relieved. Nobody wants to insult the minister, at least not on Sunday morning. And in the context of relationship, this person who has known me for many years and who also knows I get up here and I stand in front of you each and every week and quite frankly often tell you stories about my life, he was willing to take a risk, but also waited, allowed me a choice in the matter, and would not have proceeded had I given him a different answer. He asked me instead of a stranger because in the context of relationship, he was more likely to get a yes. And, well, that makes sense too. There's no one hard and fast rule for our own desires, nor is there one hard and fast rule for other people's interactions with us. Context matters. This moment matters. What's come before and will come after matters too. And this matters in the context of what we do together for 2 main reasons. One, because as a spiritual community, a place of open hearts where folks come to be a people with a purpose out in the world, how we are together, the things that we practice together and the ways that we choose to be together, they influence then what our impact is on the world. Who and how we are together here creates space for one another to be and to build the beloved community. And that matters deeply to me. But it matters too for you as an individual, not only because of your relationship with the person next to you or your neighbor or the person across the room who, again, you will not hit on just because I told you that consent matters here, but because being able to say no clearly knowing that that might change later, and being able to say yes clearly, knowing that that might change later, well, that's our way of praising creation. It's our way of cracking open the possibility of beauty and acceptance in this world. Joy was not meant to be a crumb, and your appreciation for all that life offers is not meant to be something you could take it or leave. It's not to say that you need to be overwhelmingly enthusiastic about every good thing that comes your way. That's not to say you need to be overwhelmingly enthusiastic for something you can stand but your partner really likes. It doesn't mean to say that you need to be able to act extravagantly with joy anytime life offers you a gift, but I do want you to feel it. I want the possibility of a holy yes to be carved out within you, to resonate so that you might love the hell out of this world. May it be so. Amen.
Okay, we will close this morning with Shake It Out by Florence and the Machine. Regrets collect like old friends, here to relive your darkest moments. I can see no way, I can see no way, and all of the ghouls come out to play, and every demon wants its pound of flesh, but I like to keep some things to myself. I like to keep my issues drawn. It's always darkest before the dawn, and I've been a fool and I've been blind. I could never leave the past behind. I can see no way, I can see no way, and I'm always dragging that horse around. All of these questions, such a mournful sound. Tonight I'm gonna bury that horse in the ground, 'cause I like to keep my issues strong. It's always darkest before the dawn. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. Ooh, oh, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. Ooh, oh, and it's hard to dance with the devil on your back, so shake him off. Ooh, oh. And I am done with my graceless heart, so tonight I'm gonna cut it out and then restart, 'cause I like to keep my issues strong. It's always darkest before the dawn. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. Ooh, oh, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. Ooh, oh, and it's hard to dance with the devil on your back, so shake him off. Ooh, oh. And it's hard to dance with the devil on your back. Giving us the chance, but don't take any of it back. It's a fine romance, and it's left me so undone. It's always darkest before the dawn. Ooh, oh. Ooh, oh. And I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. So here to drinks in the dark at the end of my road, and I'm ready to suffer, and I'm ready to hope. It's a shot in the dark, it's right in my throat, 'cause I'm looking for heaven from the devil in me. I'm looking for heaven from the devil in me. shake it out. Whoa. And it's hard to dance with the devil on your back, so shake him off. Whoa. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. Whoa. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. And it's hard to dance with the devil on your back, so shake him off.
Invite you to extinguish our chalice with me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. We carry in our hearts a small spark that is ever moving, flickering up and down, finding its way. This small spark, may it burn brightly in your heart. May its movement carve out within you a space for a sacred yes. Go in peace, go in love. I love you. Amen.